My name is Jack Kennedy, and for the Culture and Perception, How Worldview Shapes Understanding, I chose to read Shakespeare in the Bush by Laura Bohannon. To answer question number one, provide a brief summary of the main idea of the article. For me, the main idea was very similar to the synopsis that we see in the beginning of the story right before. Saying it's about an African anthropologist set out to study the Tiv of West Africa, and because of this, she ends up learning how culture shapes the way people understand stories. For number two, discuss how the article illustrates the impact of worldview on the interpretation of cultural meanings. I wrote down, when the Tiv read the Hamlet, they interpreted it very differently, as they think certain things are normal that we don't. Because of their culture, like marrying a brother's widow is normal, where we wouldn't think that's normal. Number three, identify and analyze one ethnocentric bias within the article, considering how worldview shaped the other author's perception of the studied culture. When the author thought the ghost in Hamlet was clearly real, but the Tiv didn't, showing that she thought her culture was more normal than the Tiv. Basically just showing that their belief in ghosts led to her thinking that that was more normal, and that she just thought that everyone believed that, when the Tiv, they didn't believe that. For number three, one ethnocentric bias within the article is, number four, this story challenges the notion that there isn't one culture that is normal or best, in the way that after reading the text, I now feel that there is no correct way when it comes to interpreting events. To answer number five, reflect on how the story challenges the notion that one's culture values are normal or best. To answer this, I said, in my own house or life, being humble has been the standard, but I know in other homes or cultures it isn't. I can understand other cultures where they don't come from much, so when they make it, say they're successful, they reach certain achievements that they wanted in life, they might show it off more. But from my culture, that's not normal. Or looked well upon. Number six, propose a best practice for communication across cultures by incorporating insights on how worldview and perception influence interaction, supported by at least one example from the article. A best practice in communication across cultures, in my opinion, would be listening before interrupting. This way we hear out others' worldviews without being rude. For example, we see in the people of the Tiv don't believe in ghosts, so by hearing out and by being more patient, she ends up learning and understanding why they think this way, and that her way of thinking that ghosts do exist isn't the right way or the only way of thinking. For number seven, relay a personal experience or observation of a cultural misunderstanding. Compare this to an example from the reading, highlighting how differing worldviews influence perceptions. A personal experience where there may have been a misunderstanding is when, in a group project, being relatively quiet in group settings. This is back in high school. I was in a group, and in Asian culture, it's most are pretty quiet, and this also kind of has to do with a little bit of being humble, not too much, but we're taught not to speak too highly of ourselves because it can be seen as boastful or arrogant. And so my classmates took this as not contributing to the project, even though I've been doing work behind the scenes that they didn't know. And so my lack of communicating was taken as arrogance. A perfect example that's similar to this in the text is when Hamlet doesn't immediately act on the ghost's revenge request. The Western people saw him thoughtful. Due to this, while the Tiv saw him as foolish for not seeking out help, because they thought he should seek out help for how foolish he was acting. But those are both just different perspectives on how we see people. The most significant idea I gained is just by understanding of others' worldviews. And sometimes I can be hostile towards others on their opinions when I don't know their culture, experiences, or background. So I think my main takeaway from the story is just understanding that everyone has different worldviews. And so I think that's why in today's world, there's a lot of controversy and fighting online and all that, but I think the reason for that is because of our different worldviews, and so it's not right to attack someone because of their opinions on certain things, because you don't know their background, experiences, or anything like that. And so that's my opinion on the Tiv and what I took away. That's my experience on Shakespeare in the Bush and my takeaways.